Sell your digital creations on Shopify. From teaching templates for your class.
How to remove delay in Streamlabs OBS in Here's how to do it. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to head on to the settings. Advanced, you want to scroll down until you see enable it, off point, and scroll 0, latency mode effect. That if that's about it, click the off of it. Kindly, highly appreciated.
This is a video about how Japanese swords are made. Swords that are strong enough and sharp enough to slice a bullet in half. The access we got for this video is incredible. We were able to film everything from gathering the iron sand, to smelting the iron, forging the sword, to sharpening and polishing it. They even let us use it.
That is so cool!
The method of making these swords has remained virtually unchanged for hundreds of years, with everything done by hand. They are still considered to be among the best in the world.
The Japanese made a weapon that was the absolute pinnacle for their style of warfare and the materials they had at hand.
These swords are held in such high regard that one from the 16th century has been appraised at $105 million, making it the most expensive sword ever built. In the Shimane province of Japan, there making it the most expensive sword ever built. That one from the 16th century has been appraised at $105 million, making it the most These swords are held in such high regard that one from the 16th century has been appraised at $105 million, making it the most expensive sword ever built. In the Shimane province of Japan, there is a smelter that is lit for only one night each year, where steel is made in the same way it was 1,300 years ago. It's known as the Tatara method, and only steel made in this way ends up in the very best Japanese swords. And we were invited to come film it. Just after 9 a.m., the ceremonial prayers are said and the fire is lit by a Shinto priest. Everyone that will be working the smelter will be here for at least the next 24 hours. That includes Veritasium producer Peter.
I'm committed. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be fun.
Sword making in Japan goes back about 3,000 years, but in those days swords were made out of bronze. We're not sure how people first learned to smelt metal, but it was likely related to pottery.
In that you were using these rocky ores to make glazes and such for pottery under very controlled atmospheres, and then maybe the potters found metallic beads in the bottom of the furnaces that they were firing at. This possibly gave them the idea.
Bronze was discovered before steel because it's an alloy of copper and usually tin, both metals with low enough melting points that they can be smelted in regular pottery kilns. The problem with bronze is that although it can be sharpened, it's too soft to hold an edge for long. So Japanese sword makers shifted to steel 1,200 years ago in the Heian period. This is what most people would recognize as a Japanese sword. It's made of steel with a curved blade. Steel is an alloy of iron, the fourth most common element in Earth's crust. The oceans of the world used to be rich with dissolved iron. But 2.5 billion years ago, cyanobacteria started photosynthesizing and creating oxygen. The iron reacted with that oxygen, precipitating out of solution to be deposited at the bottom of the ocean. Incidentally, the cyanobacteria were poisoned by the oxygen that they themselves produced, so it's thought that when levels got high enough, they died off, and as a result, oxygen levels dropped and iron no longer precipitated out of solution. Then the cyanobacteria could multiply again, and the cycle repeated. That's why most of the world's iron is found in layers of sedimentary rock called banded iron formations. Each layer of iron was formed during a global flourishing of cyanobacteria that infused the ocean with oxygen. The majority of the global iron supply comes from these banded iron formations because of their high concentration of iron, up to around 60% iron oxide by weight. But Japan, with its mostly volcanic geology, has barely any of these sedimentary iron oxides, and this is likely why the country was late to the steel production game. Archaeologists have found steel artifacts in Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey, that are nearly 4,000 years old. But in Japan, metals, including steel, were imported from China and Korea up until the 8th century, when Japan started making its own steel. So where did they get the raw ingredients? Well, igneous rocks like granite and diorite still contain iron oxides, just in much lower concentrations. But as the mountains are weathered, these iron oxides are broken apart and washed downstream. Eventually, they become part of the sand. The Japanese noticed that because iron oxides are denser than other minerals in the sand, they accumulate in places where the river changes direction or speed. The heavier iron sinks to the bottom and the lighter material is washed away. To amplify this effect, they deliberately created diversions in the river to increase the concentration of iron.
What you do is you dam off a section of river and then you drag sand into it. Because iron is heavier than the other parts of the sand, it is the thing that gets left behind and everything else gets washed downstream.
With this method, you can get iron sands with 80% iron oxides by weight. That's more concentrated than high-quality iron ore. And since it has fewer impurities, it's an excellent source material for high-quality steel. If you heat up those iron oxides to over 1250 degrees Celsius, you can break the bonds with oxygen and get pure iron. But pure iron is actually softer than bronze, so in its elemental state, iron provides no advantage. But nature gave humans a lucky break. One of the few ways you can heat something up to 1250 degrees is with charcoal. And charcoal is basically pure carbon. And if you add just a little bit of carbon to iron, it creates an incredibly strong alloy. Steel.
Yeah, a lot of people see it as a heat process. I see it as a chemical process.
Alloys are usually stronger than pure metals because they contain different sized atoms. And this reduces the ability of atoms to slide past each other when an external force is applied.
So I've just been given gloves, other gloves, and a towel. So things are very much getting real. I'm genuinely quite worried. And here is the room with all of the charcoal that we're going to be using overnight. There's just bags and bags of this stuff. There's a Buddha saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I'm here? Okay. So we're lining up on the four corners, I guess? Whoa. Oh boy, didn't do a great job of that. So the rain is coming, so we're quickly getting all of the charcoal out and then measuring it. So each bag of these is 10 kilos. Okay. So with the iron sand, it is mixed together with water, because if you don't mix it with water and you put it on the flame, it just flies straight up. But if you mix it with too much water, then there is water that's going to heat up, it's going to become water vapor, and the whole kiln could explode. Terrifyingly enough, they do this by feel. They mix in enough water until the iron sand is clumpy, but again, if it's too much, the whole thing could explode. Koko, hi. Okay, put some iron in. It is just past 4 in the afternoon, and over the last couple of hours we have added 250 kilograms of charcoal and nearly 60 kilograms of iron sand. So yeah, it's a slow process, but I think we're starting to get somewhere. I have no idea, because obviously the thing is hidden, but it should be growing.
To achieve the high temperatures required to make steel, you need a strong, steady supply of oxygen. For hundreds of years, this was provided by huge foot-operated bellows. It would have taken an around-the-clock, full-body effort by many men to maintain the furnace's temperature.
When I came here, I was a little bit sad that the bellows were electric. I really wanted to, you know, have this proper experience, have this proper workout of stepping on these bellows for 24 hours.
The temperature inside the smelter gets up to 1500 degrees Celsius, just below the melting point of iron, which is 1538 Celsius. So the iron being smelted isn't liquid, but it's soft and malleable enough to clump together into a big block of iron. No matter how high quality the iron sand is, there will always be some impurities, like sulfur, phosphorus, and silicon oxides. They combine with carbon from the charcoal and melt at a lower temperature than iron, so they become liquid and flow to the bottom. This is known as slag. After many more hours of adding charcoal and iron sand, it is time for the first removal of the slag. Before the first removal of slag, another prayer is said.
Oh, that's insane. So for the last 3 hours, there's been 3 processes that we've been doing. 1 is adding the charcoal, 2 is adding the iron sand, and 3 is opening up the smelter from the bottom to break apart the impurities so they can flow out. Just want you guys to know that it's 3:16 in the morning and I'm still here and I'm really sleepy. So it's currently 6 o'clock in the morning the next day. We've been smelting for 21 hours. I'm exhausted, but the sun is about to come out and it's been pretty amazing. I gotta be honest. We gotta close these doors really quick before they get mad at me.
At 9 a.m. the next morning, the smelting is complete. A total of 614 kilograms of iron sand and 670 kilograms of charcoal were added to the smelter. At this point, in a traditional smelter, the only way to get the steel out would be to break it apart. These days, a crane is used to take the smelter apart.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh!
And what is left to show for all that hard work is a 100 kilogram block of steel, iron, and slag. Only around a third of this block is high enough quality to be used in sword making.
Oh, that's insane. That's so cool. The result for all the hard work. This is step one of making a Japanese sword.
I took two things that I love, dancing and dogs, and I made them into a successful business. Hi, I'm Ronnie. I'm the owner of Ketatov, and I teach people all over the world how to dance with their dogs on my website. I was searching for a platform where I can really manage my business, a place that can help me share my knowledge and create a community around dog dance. And I found that in Wix. I have 4 dogs, Bailey, Pesach, Marta, and Rhythm. Rhythm is a dancer. I'm so passionate about dogs and dog dance. It's the most amazing sport in the world. You're learning to communicate in a whole different level with your dog. As soon as I posted, now I'm opening an online course website, immediately people responded.